Sup y'all, it's your boy Asmongold, and today we're going to be continuing Gorefiend the Hellfire Raider. This is part 2 of my 3-part series. You guys will be able to find links to part 1 and also part 3 whenever it comes out in the video description and also on the screen here. Now in this video we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at Gorefiend, we're going to look at Lord Iskar, we're going to look at Socrethar the Eternal, we're going to look at Fel Lord Zakuun, and last but not least Xhul'Horac, and they're also going to be in that order. And if you guys don't want to watch the whole video, you just want to go to a specific boss that you need help with, I'm going to have navigation links in the video description so you guys can do exactly that. Now this first Gorefiend achievement is not really that hard to do, and also it doesn't really occur until he goes into his recharge phase, which is whenever he reaches his energy or his mana reaches 0. And so we're going to take this time right now before anything's really going down to kind of explain the parameters that were going on in this video and what to expect going into these achievements. How hard are they? How easy are they? Etc. Like what kind of gear and everything like that. Now basically what we've got here is everybody in this group is about 705. I would say that would be the average item level of everybody in this group. Also, half of the people in this group have their 4-piece set bonus in a new raid set, as well as their class trinket. And so, obviously, we have a lot more gear than a lot of other people might be going into this with. But we also, this is like the second or third week that the raid was even out. And so, I would say like probably in a few months by now, this would be pretty much standard. And so, you guys can expect things to go about as smoothly as they did in this video. Also, some of these clips are from yesterday, and some of them are from a couple of weeks ago. And the reason for that is just we just haven't really had time to get everybody back together. And so if that's like if there's different people in the group, or like people I seem to be doing more damage or other people do, that is why. Also in these 5 achievements that we're looking at here, there's only going to be 2 of them that are actually hard, and I'm a soul man, and that's the Socrethar the Eternal achievement, and also you got to keep them separated, which is a Xhul'Horac achievement. The other 3 are relatively easy to do and very straightforward. Now I'll explain kind of the way that the Gorefiend achievement works. Now if you guys don't remember, whenever you are going trash to Gorefiend, there are the 2 like big berserker guys, and there's the crone, and the crone is a real pain in the ass. Okay, she's a huge bitch, and like you killed her once, but we're gonna have to kill her again because that's what the achievement is for. Now what you have to do here is you have to go into his belly, his consume phase, and in order to go into his consume phase you have to die. And so whenever you die, you go into his belly unless you have the debuff. Now if he's already sucked you into his belly, you already have the debuff, and so you can't go in there. And so you have to be kind of dynamic with how you decide to send people down. And so as you can see now, I don't have my debuff, and so I'm standing inside this this poison here, and it's going to kill me, as well as Nasty Nelber is as well. Whenever we go down into his stomach, there's going to be 3 fragments of the crone, and we need to kill all 3 of them. Whenever you kill all 3 of them, the soul of the crone will spawn outside, and your raid group can switch off of the boss and go ahead and kill the soul of the crone. Now I called for my raid group to actually just go ahead and kill the boss instead of focusing down the soul of the crone. In retrospect, I would say that was a bad call, and I would say that you want to focus down the soul of the crone while he's doing his recharge phase, because realistically you're not going to kill him in one recharge phase unless you have really ridiculous DPS, and you'd be better off just waiting until the second recharge phase, and while nothing else is really going on, you can just focus down the soul of the crone and not really have to worry about anything else going on at the same time. And so again, the only thing really that you have to be dynamic here with is if somebody already has the consumed buff and they can't go back into Gorefiend's stomach, you don't want them to have to go out there and die. And the reason for that is, of course, then they they will just die actually, and then you'll be fucked. And really, you only really need like one. You can't really do it with one person unless it's like some like godly like affliction warlock or something like that. And so I would recommend sending 2 or 3 people down, like 3 if you don't really have like very good single target DPS. As you guys saw, I was able to easily kill 2 of them, but 3 of them is going to be very difficult to do. Now Soul of the Crone casts 2 different abilities. Shadow Fissure, as you just saw there, as you guys can see, they're the same abilities that she has in the trash, and so you want to make sure that you stand on Shadow Fissures. Whenever you stand on them, they don't do damage to the raid. Even if they are doing damage to the raid, it's very minimal, and so I wouldn't really worry about it too much anyway. And she also does Shadow Bolt, which is just an interruptible spell, and it doesn't really do that much damage at all. Honestly, this achievement is relatively easy to get, and the only thing that is difficult is making sure that you have the right people go down and you actually make sure that you spawn the Soul of the Crone. Outside of that, this fight is really all about ad management, and so this is just one more ad that you have to deal with. She has a pretty good amount of health, as you guys saw. I think it was like 18 million, and so you do kind of have to focus her down, but as soon as she dies, it's obviously the fight goes right back to normal, and it's not really a big deal. And again, you want to make sure that you stand in those doom wells whenever you're actually getting getting killed, to go down to the stomach while he's doing Feast of Souls, because that is when the fragments of the crone spawn. That's the only time. And so anyway, guys, that's how to get that achievement, and I just cut ahead because honestly the rest of it is just rinse and repeat, but it's just making sure that you kill the soul of the crone, and that's really all it takes to get in my belly achievement. Now this next one here is actually really not that hard either. It's the Shadow Lord Iskar achievement, and really what you have to do here is like what I thought would be a good idea, and also everybody else is what we kind of ended up doing, is we just had the healers basically throw it between themselves, and everybody else pretty much handled the Phantasmal Winds and also all of the other debuffs on their own. Now, this can be a little bit of an issue, and I am going to speed up this video a little bit so, you know, we don't really waste too much time, because really this fight is just doing the fight normally, except for throwing the Eye of Anzu around very quickly. And basically the achievement, the way it works, is nobody can be holding the Eye of Anzu for more than 5 seconds, and if they are, you can be tracking the achievement, and whenever they do hold it for more than 5 seconds, such as Neto in our guild, who held it for more than 5 seconds, and if you did do that, their achievement will go red, and it will be not a big deal, and you can automatically know that, okay, you know, it's time to wipe it, and that's really all there is to it. Now, the best way to do this is, you know, whenever you're holding the Eye of Anzu, it puts a debuff on you, and that debuff doesn't clear immediately after you stop holding it, and so we did have that happen. That was really kind of a problem. We had 2 people die there, and so we really, like, I was a little bit worried. I thought we were going to wipe this, but honestly, it wasn't really that big of a deal. You just want to make sure that you always have the eye being thrown around between the healers, and the reason for that is so they're able to dispel the debuff that the Corrupted Talon Priest puts down, and also a lot of healers have ability to interrupt the Corrupted Construct that spawns in the 2nd and the 3rd add phases whenever he gets into lower health. The most important thing here really to watch out for is to make sure that you have all the people that get Phantasmal Winds, the thing that pulls you off the edge. If you guys did not know, you have to make sure that those people have speed boosts, and on normal mode, which is what we're doing this on, which is what I recommend you guys should do this on, you can really just walk against the wind, and it won't really ever take you off. And maybe if it will, you can put down a Warlock Gateway or some other sort of thing. And you guys can see right here, I'm going to have it, and I don't think I'm even going to get the eye, and it won't really be a big deal. And see, only for like a few seconds, and once the debuff starts to expire, it slows down as well. And so this is really the problem here, is the Corrupted Warden. That's right, not the Construct, the Warden. You obviously need to have the Eye of Anzu in order to interrupt his Fel Conduit. And so the best people to have doing this is, like, because you can have a druid, you know, even your Resto Druid can go into bear form and Skull Bash. No, I would not recommend that. I would recommend having either a Paladin, Rebuke, or in a best case scenario, having a Restoration Shaman go ahead and use Wind Shear, which is the best way to do it, because obviously then he's able to dispel the debuffs as well as interrupt the Corrupted Construct. And of course, you can also have like a designated person that you throw it to. Like we could have like Mojo, who's an Elemental Shaman or an Enhanced Shaman, go ahead and do the interrupts or something like that, so they're ready to throw the eye back. And honestly, one thing that's really good about this achievement is you can kind of focus all the responsibility of doing this achievement into just a few people. And so if you've got some retards in your group, and luckily we didn't. We really don't have any bad players in this group. Everybody in this group is really great, and so thank you guys for helping me do this. Also, people in my guild as well as Royal Militia. This is really great. We just finished this achievement last night, and so that was really awesome, and I had a really good time doing this. And so there weren't really any retards in this group, but if that does happen to you, also another thing, speaking of retards, if you get Fel Chakram, you want to move out of the raid or you'll do damage to people, but hey, it's not really a big deal because it's normal mode. This achievement is really just throwing the orb around for, I don't know, like pretty quickly. Other than that, there's nothing really different between the fight. For the last phase, you can AoE down all 3 of the ads, but honestly, you can just off-tank them. Yo, by the way, real quick, I got that pet. That was really cool. I got that on the auction house for like 11k, so if y'all want to buy that, that would be cool as well. Anyway, just throw the orb around, and really that's all there really is to it. Just make sure that you have the interrupts already determined, or you're able to heal through them either way. Now, Socrethar, this is the first difficult achievement, and that's called I'm a Soul Man. Now, the way that this has to work is you have to kill 20 of the different souls, the haunting souls, within 10 seconds. Now, the way that you want to handle this is you want to have the person that gets into the construct, you want to have that person actually going ahead and putting the what's it called? The Fel Prison. Yeah, the Fel Prison. I think it's button 3 whenever you get into the construct. Unfortunately, I did not have the option to go into the construct and demonstrate it for you guys, but I do kind of show you guys a little bit of pretty much what to expect. Now, we fucked this up once, and then we went ahead and we repeated the second phase again, and we're able to do it. Now, each time that he summons ads, there will be 6 that spawn, and since you have to kill 20, 4 waves will be enough that you can obviously AoE them all down. You might want to have a 5th wave just to be safe, but that's again up to you. Now, there are going to be different portals. There are 3 different portals that spawn, and the portal that you need to have Socrethar at is, of course, the red portal, because that's where the Dominator spawns. You need to kill the Dominator as fast fast as possible. And after you kill him, just make sure you keep interrupts on Socrethar. Now, in terms of the construct here, what you really have to do is make sure you have the Fel Prism down right as soon as the Haunting Spirits come down, and the reason for that is it will stun them for 1.5 minutes. Now here, this is a little bit later on in the fight, and I wanted to show you guys pretty much how we had it all taken care of. Now, the Fel Prisons are really annoying and really hard to deal with, and I would recommend if you don't have like a DK or with Gorefiend's Grasp or a Moonkin with Vortex, you're probably going to be having a bad time here, because Gorefiend's Grasp and Vortex are really good, as you guys can see, at gathering them all together. Also, you want to make sure that you kill the Fel Prisons, and the reason for that is that you obviously cannot do any damage to the Haunting Souls while the Fel Prisons are alive, and the reason for that is because it reduces the damage they take by 99%. Other than that, it just really comes down to your construct, the person who's controlling your construct, and we didn't know if we had 20 there or not, and so also it would be good for the video to show 2 separate events of us doing it, and they don't have to die within 10 seconds, so as soon as you kill the Fel construct, just stun them all, drop your big AoE and kill them. Other than that, basically the fight's pretty much the same. Now, if you do go back into phase 1, it doesn't really matter. Adds don't spawn in phase 1, and so just kill the construct as fast as you can, and then go right back into phase 2. This can happen also if Socrethar casts Exert Dominance too many times, or a number of other things. This is in normal mode though, and so you don't really have to worry about it too much. It's really all about controlling those ads. The ads can get out of control very quickly, and also the Fel Prisons, like let's say you have 2 of them down, the second one will actually make the first one take less damage, and so it's really annoying. Also, the ads spawn, I think the ads spawn about every 20 or 30 seconds. I'm not really entirely sure, but if you're the construct person, you just have to be sitting there waiting for the ads to spawn, and as soon as they do, you want to have everybody kind of in a line, and so the ads kind of go in one direction, and so that way, if you put down the Fel Prison, it will obviously hit all of the ads, and it won't just hit some of them, and then you have ads running and chasing other people. And as you guys can see, there's another set of ads, and that one Haunting Soul got away, but luckily we had Vortex there, and it was able to pull it right back. And so that's how useful having Vortex and these other, I guess, like CC is. And luckily we did have a DK, but unfortunately he was a tank, and so we couldn't really just have him come on over here and just go ahead and death grip the ads every single other pull, just to make things easier for our construct. And so that was a little bit unfortunate, but again, we were able to do it anyway. As I said before, and I'll say again, having a DK or some sort of person, the more the merrier, that you have that can really control these Haunting Spirits and move them in one way or another, like Typhoon, even what's it called, Ring of Frost. Ring of Frost doesn't work that well, but it is an option. As you guys can see there, they were knocked back and they were controlled and taken another Fel Prison, and it was very easy to deal with them as well. Now this is a bit of a longer clip because I did want to show the entire what's really the word for this, the process of us doing this, and we had a couple of mistakes, and so there comes another wave. Now, in a perfect world here, we would death grip all of them on top of each other, and then like maybe stun them, like I would have maybe Shockwave or something like that, and then yeah, oh wow, that was actually that was a really good idea that I had, right? I actually probably told them to do that. So now we have them all reset, and every single Fel Prison that stuns them actually only lasts for 1.5 minutes, and so it's not like you can just do this and forget about it. You've kind of got to be refreshing them, and always got to be on top of it. Now, I wouldn't really worry about this too much, but it is something to be aware of, and also it's 10 seconds is not a lot of time, and so whenever you decide to kill these ads, you need to be killing them immediately. Now here, obviously the ads were not slowed, and we didn't really have them under control because the Dominator just spawned, and so luckily, again, we had Ring of Frost and enough CC to control them as well, and it was not that hard to do. Again, each wave spawns 6 ads. That's how many we counted on normal mode. Now, I don't know if that increases or decreases with the amount of players that you have, but I would recommend, if that is somehow the case, make sure that you have at least enough people to where you can get more than 5 for each wave, just to be safe in case you have a mistake happen. Now, there you go. The Fel Prison broke, and I didn't know that was about to happen, but it was okay, and we're going to go ahead and when we death grip them all together, and here we can go ahead and just stun them and just AoE them down very quickly. Now, we also have the Vortex there, and right there, as you guys saw, I think it's probably some Supernova action and me getting hit by a Spirit action, but at least I got a little bit of damage off, and we also ended up killing them all. A lot of people already have this achievement because it was bugged in the first week, but luckily, we were able to do this actually legitimately again, and I was actually, like, this actually took us about as long as the Archimond achievement, and so this requires a lot of coordination and just really making sure that your construct player has the has the ads under control with the Fel prisons, and is also being assisted by the other CC classes, such as a Death Knight with Gorefiend's Grasp, or a Moonkin with a Vortex. And there it is. I'm a Soul Man. Not really that hard to do, but it's not really like mechanically. It's very mechanically intensive, but it's not like damage intensive or anything like that. It's just making sure you have everything under control, and also again, like making sure that your construct person is entirely aware of what's going on. Whenever you put the Fel prison down, it doesn't automatically activate. It takes like a few seconds to activate, so it's pre-planning. Like, luckily we have one of our MVPs in the guild doing the construct, and so luckily again, that was not really an issue for us. I was actually really glad that we got this achievement, because I was worried that we didn't kill him fast enough. So, and you also can't track this. Like, the tracking is messed up on it, and so that's probably, honestly, that's probably the hardest one in this entire video. Now, this next one, the land was green and good until apparently it's just a Dark Crystal reference, and what you have to do here is you have to kill this motherfucker so fast, and also, you cannot soak any of the crystals. Well, I guess they are dark crystals. Whew. And but really what it comes down to is you can't soak any of the pillars that come up, because if you do, you can't soak any of the rumbling fissures. As you guys see, the swirlies, don't be in the swirlies. It's real easy. Also, it's very obvious whenever you failed the achievement, and so you have to let all of them spawn. Go ahead and just burn down the boss as fast as you can. We didn't really save hero until the end. We figured that the faster we kill him, the more pillars were up. Now, pillars do despawn over time, and so that is good, but at the same time, there will still be a lot of pillars up at any real given time, and towards the end, if you're doing this achievement, well, in general with this boss, it is pretty hard. Towards the end, it's very chaotic, and so be aware of that, and be expecting that as well. Now, we had very, very good DPS in this group, and so I would recommend maybe going a little bit light on healers, like dropping one healer, and because really most of your healing potential and I guess like healing output is going to be concentrated towards like the later, probably like minute of the fight, and so by that time you can pretty much burn through all the healer's mana with like raid cooldowns like Rallying Cry, just Aura Mastery, Nature's Vigil, etc. Now, really, what makes this achievement difficult at all, and honestly, this was one of the hardest ones. We one-shot this one, but that was also because we had very, very great DPS, and so we were lucky for that. But if we didn't have that, we would have had a lot more trouble. Now, really, what this comes down to is that all of these crystals here, each one of them, or pillars, whatever, each one of them does damage, and also the Seeds of Corruption, whenever those little purple things hit one of the crystals or the pillars here, it will also do a raid damage to the raid. Now, that really isn't too big of a deal, but honestly, sorry, I've had like allergies earlier, and I can't like talk very well. Apologies. Anyway, so really what this comes down to is just making sure that you're able to soak those waves, and also that you're not right next to the crystals, because if you are, apparently they do more damage to you. Now, they are going to do damage to everybody in the raid, regardless of how far away from them you are, but you just don't really want to set yourself at a disadvantage. Now, really, the worst part here is that whenever he casts Befoulment, which is the thing that absorbs healing, towards the end of the fight, that's almost a guaranteed death sentence, and so if you do have that happen to you towards the end of the fight, see right there, I was supposed to move out, I didn't, and so it's not like you have to have like perfect execution here, but you do kind of have to at least be a little bit under control of what's going on here. Now, right here towards the end, like, you've got tons of raid damage going out, and when these befoulments come out, and I think even a little bit before that, people are going to start dying, and so this is where you want to start rotating like your AoE cooldowns, using your healing tonics, everything you can to stay alive and just make sure you finish the boss and go ahead and kill him. This is probably what most groups are going to look like whenever this achievement is done. Half of the raid is dead, and the other half is almost dead, and so again, just make sure that you save all of your healing cooldowns and everything towards the end of the fight, and just burn them down as quickly as possible, and make sure you don't soak any swirlies. That's really all it comes down to, and also intercepting the swirlies that are coming towards the pillars as best you can. Now, you can't get every single one, but if you know one's going to hit, you might want to use a minor personal cooldown, especially if it's not happening towards the end of the fight. Now, this is it. This is the hard one. Well, I mean, I guess like Soul Man is like really the hard one, but this is like also very hard, because the Soul Man achievement, like, that's kind of like a raid achievement, and you guys know personal responsibility achievements are very, very difficult. Xhul'Horac, pull him over to one side of the raid, or not the raid. We'll make the raid go to one side, and then also after that, go ahead and have everybody in your raid get right to that yellow pillar, and that is at the very, very left spot. And so that's going to put the fire as far away from everybody else as possible. Now, if people get a couple of stacks of this, it's not really a big deal. You just want to make sure that you minimize the green fire as much as possible. And you guys will see. You guys will see how bad it gets towards the end of the video, and how close we got to failing this achievement, and how important it is to make sure you get through the fire. Now see, I got the debuff Fel Surge on me, and I even go through the fire just to make sure that I overlap it to minimize this green fire as much as possible. Now really the way this achievement works is you cannot trigger a Shadowfell Annihilation at all, and a Shadowfell Annihilation happens whenever somebody has the Fel Touch, the Shadow Touched, I don't remember exactly the name, basically the debuff to where if a shadow or a fire thing hits you while you have the debuff, it will pretty much make you take a lot of damage, or make you have this explosion, make you take a lot of damage, and everybody within 20 yards also take a lot of damage. You cannot make one of those trigger, and so as soon as he goes into Shadow Phase, after the first, I guess like mini boss dies, you need to go ahead and move him all the way over to the other side, and you really can only fail the achievement in Phase 2 and Phase 3, and also later on, but really, personally, you can only fail it really in Phase 2 and Phase 3. These wild pyromaniacs, if they get one of these casts off, these Fel Orbs, it will put a fire patch under that player, and it will also, of course, that is taking fire damage, and so if they have the shadow debuff in this phase or in Phase 3, that will, of course, trigger the explosion, and you fail the achievement. Now, the Void Fiends, the Void mini ads, whenever they cast that little purple swirly under a player, you just need to move out of it. If you don't move out of it, you, of course, take damage, and also it puts more purple stuff under the ground. Now, obviously, on the complete other side of the map here, we have the purple. So if you get the what is that even called? I don't remember exactly what the name of it is. But whenever you get the purple debuff, where you leave the purple stuff on the ground, just go over to the purple marker. I don't exactly remember what the name of it is, but I'm pretty sure you guys can pretty much get the picture. Now, after that, you're just pretty much going to be burning him down. Now, as soon as you reach Phase 3, this is whenever we opted to use Heroism. Now, Phase 3 is where it actually becomes difficult, and the most difficult part of this actually is for the tanks, because the tanks have to be swapping back and forth, and so you have to be, one tank has to be tanking all of the Fel Strikes, and another tank has to be tanking all of the Shadow Strikes. Now, you could use a third tank to make it a little bit easier, but honestly, I don't really think that we needed to do that. We had some very good tanks in this group, some of our main tanks for our guild, and also for, I think, like Royal Militia. I don't remember. No, he wasn't in mode. Either way, we had some really, really good tanks. Now, here, look at, see those two fires? One with Mojo and one with, I don't see the other person, maybe it was Nasty Nober. Those fires, like, that's how, this is how dangerous it can be here. And you guys will see how close those fires gets to the shadow. Now, as soon as you guys will obviously see, your tanks will obviously see whenever Xhul'Horac goes from Fel Phase to Shadow Phase, and so they can know when to tank the Fel Strikes and the Shadow Strikes. And so make sure that your tanks taunt back and forth, and so they never take a Fel Strike whenever they're Fel Singed, and a Shadow Strike, or a Fel Strike whenever they're Shadow Singed or whatever, and a Fel Strike whenever they're, or a Shadow Strike whenever they're Fel Singed, sorry. Again, I've kind of bad allergies right now. Luckily, we were towards the end of this video. Anyway, Phase 3 is really, like, this is the real part of it, and really, you just have to make sure that you keep the fire as far apart from each other as possible in Phase 1 and 2, as much as possible in Phase 3 as well. So, and taking an extra stack or two of the fire to get it as far away as possible is, in my opinion, completely worth it. Now, in 20%, he no longer casts the ads, and so that makes it easier, but he still casts the debuffs, and so you need to make sure that you put the debuffs in the right spots. Now, right behind me, y'all see that green fire and that purple is getting really, really close together, and y'all are going to see how close together it got. I was actually worried that we'd have an explosion while the boss died, and so we didn't have that happen, luckily, but it was a real ass clincher, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. And a lot of people use Heroism for Phase 4, obviously, because of the increasingly high damage AoE pulses, but really, doing this achievement, if you really have the group to do this achievement, you can afford to use Heroism in Phase 3 and get through that phase as fast as possible, because that is the phase that, in my opinion, there's the highest probability of mistakes to happen. And so that's how to keep them separated. You gotta keep them separated. And that's really all it takes. Last video, I've already completed it, and so you guys will see that pretty soon here. That will have Tyrant Valhari, Manaroth, and Archimonde. Those are the real hard ones. That's why I only had 3 in that part. So anyway, guys, I hope this helped you, and that's pretty much all I got. And so if you have any questions on how I handled this, or anything that I didn't really cover in the video, go ahead and ask me in the comments. I'll be sure be glad to answer. But anyway, that's pretty much all I've got. Thanks for watching, and like, comment, subscribe.